Hi, my name is Nicola and with Perry we have created SoundClone app. SoundClone is an online distribution platform and music sharing website that enables its users to upload, promote and share audio. This app is a command shift formerly known as Manchester Code's project which aims to replicate some of functionalities of the largest music streaming services in the world. In terms of agile software development practices, we started off planning using Figma. Figma was used to lay out how all the components were going to work together and how they will communicate with the backend. We worked throughout the projects doing regular stand-ups, Google meetings, Slack messages and support sessions. Meetings were held quite frequently so that we could be aware of any changes on our codes, resulting in minimal merge conflicts when pushing to GitHub.
Hi, I'm Perry, part of the SoundClone team, and I'd like to show you how our app works. The app is currently deployed on GitHub Pages, and the first page you come to is the home feed. This gives you a list of all the albums that have been uploaded, from the most recently uploaded to the oldest. At the bottom of the screen, we have a music player. To add a album or song to the music player, you just have to click one of these buttons. I'll start by adding this album to the queue. You'll see that the first song has shown up here with the artist name and the cover art. You can then skip through the songs using these buttons, play or pause a song with this button, or skip to any time in the song using the progress bar. We have a volume input here to change the volume of the audio element, and a playlist here which shows every song in the playlist. You can then use these buttons to skip and play a song immediately, or to remove a song from the playlist. If we use the Add to Queue button, we add the album or song to the end of the queue, and if we use a Play Next button, we play this song next to the playlist. In the navbar at the top of the screen, we have this search input, which allows us to search for an album, artist, or song by name. For instance, if I search Jen, I get the artist card for Jenny Co. And if I search Detune, I'll get the song Detuned Love, but also the album Dreaming of Detuned Love. And if there's nothing in the database for that search query, we return no results. If you'd like to upload and share your own music, you first have to log in or sign up. You do that on this tab over here. If you don't have an account, you can follow this link here. We make sure to give appropriate messages for missing or incorrect fields, but I already have an account, so I'm just going to log in here. If login is successful, we then navigate you to your profile page, and we store the user information in a cookie so that the session is stored if you refresh the page. To log out, simply go over to the Logout button and click Log Out. To upload an album, simply go over to the Upload tab. Here, you can give the album a name and some optional artwork, and you then have songs which can give names and audios to each. You can add more songs by adding this button, or remove songs using this. In this example, I'm just going to create one song like this, and we're not going to give it any artwork. You then hit Create. Are you sure? Yep. This will then do a loading screen, and then, if it's successful, it will then navigate you to your profile. If no artwork is provided, we'll use this as a placeholder. After uploading the album now shows up in the home feed and will show up in searches and on your profile. If you'd like to go over to a different user's profile, you can click their name in the album card, which will bring you to their profile. If a profile doesn't exist for a user, for example that, we'll show the message no user found. If the profile belongs to you and you're logged in, we'll show a couple of extra buttons like the Edit Profile button and a button to allow you to edit the album. If you are on your profile page, you can click the Edit Profile button to update your user information, such as name, email, and password. You can also delete your account by pressing Delete and then inputting your password. I won't be doing any of that, so I'll just cancel to go back. You can also update your album information by clicking Edit Album. This lets you change the album's name and artwork, the song's information, remove songs, add new songs, or delete the album. At the moment, I'm just going to change some artwork, so we'll click that and we'll save the changes. And if that's successful, you'll see that the artwork is now updated. Although throughout this demonstration I have been in desktop mode, the app does scale down for mobile as well. Next up, I'd like to go over some of the technologies that we use in the backend. We use the ExpressJS framework to run a relational database with SQLite using the PostgreSQL dialect. We used AWS SDK to interact with an Amazon Web Service S3 bucket for storing images and audio files. We use Multa to handle form data and to save the files to memory for passing them over to AWS. And we use UUID for giving these files unique names. We use bcrypt for password hashing. Clause has been used for cross-origin requests because our server and client run on different domains. We use JSON Web Token to create and parse JSON Web Tokens, and Cookie Parser to parse cookies. On the development side of things, we used NodeMon for automatically restarting the server when changes were made, .env so we can access our environment variables. We did integration testing using Mocha, Chai, and Supertest, and used Synon to stub and mock the AWS functions during testing. We used Prettier and ESLint for code formatting, and we've deployed the backend on Render.
In terms of front-end technology, we used React as library for building single-page web application, React Router DOM for routing and navigation from the app, prop types for prop validation, Axios for server request and interaction with the backend, JS cookie to get and set the cookie in the browser, JWT decode for decoding the data stored in the cookie, React spinners for loading spinners that gives us loading animation on the web page, UUID, which is a unique ID that we can assign to object as unique keys when we map on arrays, Prettier and ESLint for good code formatting, GH pages for deployment, and Jest and React testing library for testing. We also use CSS for styling.
Next, I'd like to go over some of the challenges that we faced while building this app. The first is user authorization. How do we know that a user is allowed access to the data that they are trying to make changes to? We overcame this problem by storing the user ID in the JSON Web Token. We then, when a user wants to access the data, we verify that the JSON Web Token is present and hasn't been altered before checking that the user ID contained within the token matches the user ID associated with the files and data they're trying to access. The biggest challenge we faced with this app has to have been cookies. The issue we faced was that the client and server run on different domains, and when we sent the cookie to the front end in the headers, it was being set to the server's domain and it wasn't accessible in the front end. To overcome this, we sent the JSON Web Token with the data and then manually set the cookie on the front end. This is a kind of hacky fix of the problem, and if we had more time, I'd definitely like to try and find a better solution. Another challenge we faced with this project was handling files. We first had to work out how to grab the file in React and save it in state. Then we had to work out how to send the file into the backend. This required using form data instead of JSON, which we were more used to at this point. In the backend, we then had to figure out how to handle and save that file. We ended up using Multa as middleware to grab and then save the file into memory before passing it to AWS and saving it in the S3 bucket. In the database, we then save a URL which links to the file. This does pose a security risk because now we have a link that anyone can use saved to the database to access a file. If we had more time, I'd like to see if we can find a better solution to this, potentially saving a reference instead of the URL and then creating a temporary URL for the user to access the file with. Next, I'd like to go over some more of the ideas we had for improvements to the app. Although we're pretty thorough of our testing at the start, as we got closer to the deadline, we definitely became more lax in that regard. I would like to add a favoriting system so a user could like their favorite songs or albums or follow their favorite artists. I'd like to add more user customization such as profile pictures or cover photos. Although our app does scale on mobile, I definitely think there is some room for improvement there. It'd be nice if the playlist and volume settings didn't reset every time you refresh the app. And currently there's quite a lot of repetition in the code base that I think could be reduced.
A huge thank you to my colleague Perry, who's been very supportive and collaborative over the course of the entire project. And a big thank you to the whole Command Shift team for the amazing support we have been given throughout the whole project. And another big shout to all the Command Shift June cohort. Thank you guys. We also encourage anyone to have a look at our SoundClone Git repositories and our GitHub profiles. Thank you.